Hi, I'm Kristin Connelly. I'm the elected clerk, recorder, and registrar of voters here in Contra Costa County. Over the next 2 months, high school students will be interviewing elected officials of their choice to learn more about their work. We hope you will enjoy this series we're calling Democracy Dialogues.
Hello, I'm Nadia, a junior at Marimonte High School in Orinda, and today I have Kristin Connelly, the Contra Costa County's clerk, recorder, registrar.
Great to be here. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, of course. Could you tell me a little bit about your job?
Sure. So I'm responsible for 3 different things, basically. As the clerk, we take care of the vital records. So think about every important part of your life, your birth, your marriage, your death. We issue birth certificates, death certificates, and marriage licenses. So that's the clerk aspect. The recorder aspect is to record property transactions. So when people buy and sell property, and a variety of other things related to property, we officially record those documents as part of the record. So that's the recorder hat. Mm-hmm. And the registrar of voters is that I'm responsible for conducting elections in Contra Costa, where we have 700,000 registered voters.
Oh, wow. Okay, when you took the office, what surprised you the most?
Well, it did surprise me that, in fact, I'm also the commissioner of civil marriages. So I am actually able to conduct wedding ceremonies anywhere in California. But I would say that was the biggest surprise. I really had spent 13 months campaigning to get the job, and so had done a lot of research. So a lot of the stuff was expected.
Wow, that's an interesting fact.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest concern of our county?
Well, I think that certainly there is a national concern, a lot of energy around elections, and so people want to make sure that in Contra Costa we continue to do a good job running elections. Mm-hmm. Contra Costa is a microcosm of California, and I think we have to think about how to best serve all of Contra Costa residents. And we're a big county, and so we're trying to find ways to make our services more accessible to people, because it's hard to get to Martinez with public transportation. Mm-hmm. So we've been running extended hours for our clerk recorder service throughout the summer, and now that we're in the fall, we're just doing it just twice a month on Thursdays. So I think really access to services and high quality services is what I'm hearing most from what people want.
Right, I see. What aspect of governmental policies and politics are your core values?
Oh, well, definitely transparency is really important. I think we need to be very open with the public about what we're doing and why, and how that impacts their lives. I think it's really important to lift up ethics, that we, are doing the right thing, and that we're really careful about what we do. Doing the right thing matters. And I also think that it's really important to incorporate equity. Not everyone has the same privilege and resource. And so we need to think about how can we serve hard to serve people. Earlier in my career, I worked at a nonprofit in New York City that had this philosophy of being pleasantly relentless, that sometimes families can be hard to serve, but you have to figure out how to meet them where they're at. And so I try to bring that attitude to the department I'm leading.
Oh, okay. What could the youth of Contra Costa County do better to preserve the future of democracy?
Well, certainly they can vote. They should pre-register as 16 and 17-year-olds, and definitely once they actually are registered and eligible to vote, to exercise that right. I mean, for too long, the 18 to 24 bracket of registered voters has been underrepresented compared to other generations. Now that's changing recently, and I hope that trend continues. So I think that it's about being educated and making sure that you know what's on the ballot, that you know how to vote. We try to make it really easy for people, but we're exploring ways on and how we can communicate. So we have an outstanding person leading our outreach efforts who's put together a TikTok committee for both clerk recorder staff and election staff to think about how we could be getting messages out via TikTok safely, securely, but how can we get our messages out where people will hear them and see them. So certainly if I had one ask, it would be register and then vote.
So I know you mentioned TikTok, and I know a big part of your goal is to prevent misinformation and the spread. Yeah. So could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So in the last couple of elections, there's been a lot of concerns about 3 types of misinformation. So it's called MDM, mis, dis, and malinformation, which are, won't go into down the rabbit hole of explaining all three types, but we need to be prepared to respond to when people are spreading lies, spreading incorrect information, which thankfully, doesn't happen very often where people are intentionally spreading lies. What is more pervasive, at least from my perspective, is misinformation where people will pass along something that is incorrect and just wrong. Now, granted, and some people really do commit, I think, really atrocious things where they purposely try to disenfranchise voters. And that's not just new with Facebook. I was doing some election protection work back in 2008, and someone you will have never heard of this. There used to be a thing called MySpace, and there was a MySpace page created specifically to target voters at Missouri State. And it said that one political party voted on Tuesday and a different political party voted on Wednesday. And obviously, if you went to go vote on Wednesday, your vote wouldn't count. So there have been bad actors out there meaning to do things. So what we're trying to do is consistently be a trusted source of election information. And that's what all my counterparts are trying to do. And staff from my office really led the charge in standing up a coalition of 11 different counties in the Bay Area. We'd love San Francisco to join us. They're not with us yet. We're working on that. But we are a coalition that is working to fight against that. And so we have a couple different subcommittees that are standing up, just real simple messages about how your vote counts, how to make sure that you can participate, just real simple things so that to kind of try to cut through some of the conspiracy theories and all the noise that's out there. Obviously, with artificial intelligence and the development of all of that, there are new tools that are a real threat. The federal government just put out a new directive about how to look out for deep fakes and what can happen with people generating fake news and fake information using the real voice, like manipulating the voice of an elected official. So we're trying to be on top of all of those things. We have a great IT staff that's helping us stay safe with cyber. Right. So,
how do you plan to increase the accessibility of voter registration? I know you touched on this a little bit.
Yeah, well, sort of at the macro level, I'm hoping that the state of California, at the state legislature, decides to join the National Electronic Voting Registration System. It's called ERIC. Because that would, if we were able to get the DMV's information, we would be able to target eligible but not yet registered voters. And to have a database of that would be great. But that's a state decision. So short of that, what we're going to be using is census data that we got coming out of the 2020 census to help us identify areas that are under-registered. And so that we can do more targeted outreach to those communities to bring those registration numbers up. And we really want to get the message out about how we mail every voter a ballot, because I think some voters are still not used to that. And so, and how the different ways that voters can make their vote count by returning that either in the mail or in our drop boxes or to show up and vote in person.
I see. Now, what is one piece of advice that you could give the youth entering adulthood?
Wow, I would say keep your enthusiasm and don't get too cynical about the world. I think that young people, I'm fortunate, I'm a parent of 2 teenagers, and I learn stuff from them all the time. So I think advice would be to keep the magic of your youth going as long as you can, and just remember to vote and to call your parents. My son's about to go to college.
Oh my goodness. Now, could you touch a little bit on the recorder part of aspect of your job?
Yeah. So definitely a trend right now that we're dealing with that actually has budget implications is that ever since the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates in the spring of 2022, fewer people are buying and selling homes, which means we have fewer transactions. So our department's making less money. But that'll change when, the real estate market comes back. But no, there's a whole body of law about what you need in order to accept a document to get it recorded. And also there's important documents that we can record to help veterans. We can record their discharge papers so they're always available to them no matter where they are. And so we work with the Veterans Service Office to try to make that easier and accessible and free for veterans to do that. So, so it's not something that most people think of unless they're buying and selling a house, but there's all kinds of documents documents that
No, that
can
sounds
get
very
recorded.
interesting. Yes. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you. I had
Sure.
a lot of fun and getting to know about your job and kind of what you do for the county. Thank you.
Yeah, come visit anytime.
Thank you.
All right, take care.